morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join our webinar Asia Pacific OSH practice. Or in short, we also know it as WAPOSHP. So this program has been introduced since April. All right, so we are pleased to see you again today. My name is CK Lim of SHEA Academy, speaking on behalf of the organizer. So firstly, I would like to thank everyone for being so supportive to our webinar. As you may know, this webinar is scheduled on every first Saturday of the month. Only with our continuous support, we are able to run the past 3 sessions successfully. So it was, we started during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was during the, we call it the MCO, Movement Control Order period. That during the time we have come up with this idea of getting the OSH practitioner across the country to share their experience and so knowledge in OSH related subjects, so that we can learn. Even during pandemic, we can go out from our house, we cannot go to our workplace and work, but we are still able to learn. It doesn't stop us from learning, crossing the geographical limitations to meet each other as well. So actually it's a borderless platform to share with industrial practitioners on OSH professions and experience. The fourth industrial revolutions, Industry 4.0, brings technology into our everyday life, making education accessible anytime, anywhere. The COVID-19 pandemic has pushed schools, higher education, training providers online to ensure that the effective learning continues. While technology can facilitate seamless migrations of face-to-face learning to a virtual platform, accessibility to a quality digital content is very crucial. The aim of this webinar event is to stimulate dialogue on the importance of ensuring safety and health at work, as well as exchanging information, ideas, experience in regards with occupational safety and health matters, towards a common aspiration, which is to achieve a safer and healthier workplace for all. So there are over 150 participants enrolled to today's webinar. So across few countries, they are from Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, India, Philippines, Korea, Bangladesh, United Kingdom, Indonesia, Thailand, Macau, and so on. So on behalf of the organizer, Social Resources Development Institute, SRDI, and SHEA Academy and Consultancy would like to express our sincere gratitude to the co-organizer and also the supporting institutions, and also Dato Dr. Kanagaraja Raman, the president of MOSHPA, Malaysian Occupational Safety and Health Practitioner Associations of Malaysia, for being so supportive to us throughout the events. So the co-organizers are Malaysian Occupational Safety and Health Practitioner Association from Malaysia, Institute of Occupational Safety and Health IOSH from Singapore branch, UCSI University from Malaysia, the Hong Kong Institute of Cloud Works, the Hong Kong Development Professional Associations. Whereas the supporting institutions are including International Power Access Federations from United Kingdom, World of Safety and Health Asia, Singapore and Middle East, Macau University of Science and Technology School of Liberal Arts, Macau, Hong Kong Institution of Engineer, Safety Specialist Committee from Hong Kong, Authorized Signatory and Technical Director Society of Hong Kong, and lastly, Material Tech Company Limited from Hong Kong, Macau, and China. Today, we are pleased and honored to invite 5 industrial experts to share with us their knowledge and experience, as well as their achievement in relation to OSH, or Occupational Safety and Health. Let's look at the program at a glance. So we started our program at 9:30 in the morning. So we tentatively will be end our session at about 1:15 in the afternoon. So we will start out with the welcome speech by us, the organizer. And then we'll proceed on with the first speaker at 10:10. Okay, he will be speaking around 30 minutes, and as 5 minutes we will giving for the crowd or for the participants to ask any questions. Whereas we call it as a Q&A sessions. Before we proceed on with the second speaker, so Mr. Muhammad Anuar, so he's the Deputy Director General of Occupational Safety, Department of Occupational Safety and Health, Malaysia. So he'll be presenting on self-regulations approach in management of certificated machinery. So as well, likewise, he'll be presenting around 30 minutes, and 5 minutes will be giving to the participant to ask any related questions. Whereas the third speaker will be Ms. Fung Yin-Suen. So she will be presenting to us on building information modeling and site safety. The fourth speaker will be Engineer Conrad Fung from Hong Kong. So he will be presenting on how does a man contractor to ensure the effective implementation of his site safety. As the last speakers will be Mr. Harun Bin Bakar. So he's from Malaysia. So he'll be sharing on Vision Zero initiative in combating safety. And last but not least, the closing remark by Dato Kanagaraja Raman. Before I pass over the mic to the first speaker, I would appreciate if all the participants could cooperate with me, turn off the mic, the microphone or the audio throughout the during the presentations when the speaker is delivering their speech, in order to avoid any interruptions or disruptions to the speaker and also smoothness of the event. And also, there is a Q&A session for each presentations. So if you have any questions during the presentations, we will appreciate that if you could leave your comments or leave your questions in the chat box. Okay, you may leave in the chat room. So we'll go through and pick up some of the questions. If there are too many, we'll randomly pick up some of the questions and ask the speakers. Or else, during the Q&A sessions, you may also switch on your mic to ask the questions. Okay, depending on the time availability. For those who have paid and applying for the attendance certificate, please drop your name and origin country, where do you from, in the chat room, so that we know your presence at every hours, so that we wanted to trace whether you are around with us, throughout the whole sessions of the seminar. So for those who haven't paid and would like to get the certificate, not to worry about it. You may send us an email. So send us an email and so pay accordingly, so that we will get back to you very soon as we can, and issue you a certificate as you wanted. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us welcome the first speaker, Mr. Cheung Hau-wai. So he's a chairman of Hong Kong Green Buildings Council, the former directors of Building of Hong Kong. And it's our great pleasure for us to introduce our first speaker, who is going to talk about the development of green building in Hong Kong. All right, so let's join me in welcoming Mr. Cheung Hau-wai for your presentations.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me the opportunity of joining your webinar and for allowing me to present to you on the subject of the development of green buildings in Hong Kong. Whilst the main of the presentation will be on green buildings, but as you would probably be aware, in dealing with green buildings, we would also be talking about health and well-being. And it's precisely on that subject there is some opportunity for us to build in health and safety ingredients in the green building movement. So I hope that my presentation would be of interest to you. The content of my presentation will cover first the origin of the Hong Kong beam. The word beam is not a structural beam. It really stands for building environmental assessment method being the main tool in Hong Kong, as well as I think in many green organizations, green building organizations in other parts of the world for measuring the environmental performance of their green buildings. Secondly, the presentation will cover the development of the rating system. Thirdly, the existing building retro commissioning, which is a very important subject that we have to take on in order to save energy use in existing buildings. There will be a short commercial on advertising the Hong Kong Green Building Council, if you don't mind. And fifthly, our public engagement and education exercise. And then we will have a short talk on how we look forward to the future. And lastly, on the contribution of BEAM plus towards health and safety. And very lastly, some thoughts on the Pay for Safety scheme. The Hong Kong Green Building Assessment Tool, as I just mentioned, is called BEAM, Hong Kong BEAM. It was conceived almost 24 years ago in 1996, not by the Hong Kong Green Building Council, but by REDA, being the Real Estate Development Association in Hong Kong. So we should give credit to the developers themselves in Hong Kong in starting the green building movement. And also we are indebted to the UK Green Building Rating Association as being the first reference point that we have adopted in starting developing BEAM in Hong Kong. The BEAM rating system started off in 1996 dealing with office premises, and then later on new residential buildings being the two main real estate development in Hong Kong. Then throughout the years, we have been developing the rating system in alignment with the life cycle coverage of green building development. The life cycle coverage includes the initial planning stage of any building development. Then it goes on to design and construction of a building. And then upon completion, we have to look into the operation and maintenance of existing buildings. And also throughout the lifetime of a building, the issue concerning fitting out and alteration and additions to existing buildings. So in terms of each of these stages of building development, we have developed an individual rating system to deal with, firstly, planning. We have a BEAM plus neighborhood rating method. Then going on to construction and design stage, we have the BEAM plus new building rating system. And then upon completion, we have BEAM plus existing buildings to deal with the operation and maintenance stage of existing buildings. And then finally, throughout its lifetime, we have a BEAM plus interior, as the word indicates, it deals with any interior fitting out and alteration work to existing building throughout its lifetime. Since the incorporation of the Hong Kong Green Building Council almost 10 years ago now, and also the introduction of the BEAM Plus rating system, there has been a healthy increase in the number of new buildings being assessed and rated as green buildings. We now cover almost over 50% of the new building development in Hong Kong, which has come forward to be assessed and certified as green building by the Hong Kong Green Building Council under the BEAM Plus Green Building Rating System. The rating system not only covers green building aspects, but also in some way health and safety requirements. As you could see from the screen, there are credits being given if a development incorporates certain safety features in buildings, like the provision of guardrail and access for plumbing systems in buildings, the provision of access panel to these fitting outs, and also provision of metal platform for providing a safe working place for inspection and maintenance of these drainage systems in buildings. One of the very important aspects in our densely built environment, like in Hong Kong, we have to pay a lot of attention to ensuring the movement and utilization of natural air ventilation in our densely built environment, so that we have issued a urban microclimate study guidebook to provide for how we should dispose our buildings, how they should be sited, how they should be separated sufficiently to allow natural air to run through our built environment, so that there is sufficient natural ventilation within buildings. Within buildings, there are requirements to deal with the provision of sufficient window for our living and working environment. There is the need for providing windows in separate parts of our internal environment, such that different parts of the building is adequately lighted and ventilated. So these are the requirements, as you could see, to provide cross ventilation within buildings, so that the windows are not sited too far apart. There are also credits being given for biophilic design, ensuring health and active living and working environment within buildings and also outside buildings. After the completion of a new building, and also in order to cater for the very large number of existing buildings in Hong Kong, which hasn't gone through the BEAM Plus new building rating system, there is a very need for retrofitting and recommissioning the electrical and energy use systems in buildings. So we have started in the last 3 years a scheme for retro-commissioning existing buildings. Existing buildings use almost 90% of Hong Kong's electricity. So we believe merely by retro-commissioning, without replacing or renewing the mechanical system, we can achieve certain amount of saving in energy use. So we have started off by providing training for professionals in building management and maintenance so that they are aware of their mechanical system, energy use system in their buildings and how they can be readjusted, recommissioned in order to save energy. We'll be giving awards for existing buildings which perform well in retro-commissioning. And we have started off last year to carry out research on retro-commissioning with universities in Hong Kong, in Shenzhen, and also in Shanghai, so that we would be able to use not only expertise in Hong Kong, but with our next door neighbors in Shenzhen and further on to Shanghai, so that we can use our expertise in retro-commissioning. As you will be aware that both in Hong Kong, in Shenzhen, maybe in Shanghai, in many of the cities in Asia, the cities has been building up in the last 30, 40 years in scale, so that if we are able to achieve certain amount of retro-commissioning and retrofitting in these large huge building stock, we should be able to save energy use in our existing buildings. As I said, there will be a very short advertising on the Hong Kong Green Building Council. It's actually formed in 2009. Last year, we celebrated our 10th anniversary. Our vision is to improve the well-being of people of Hong Kong by transforming the city into a greener built environment. So we are not only deal with buildings by themselves, but we also target the whole built environment. We do so by leading a market transformation, not mandatory, not using government regulations, but through market forces, and also through educating the general public. 10 years ago, we formed the Hong Kong Green Building Council by organizing together the 4 existing organizations then who are already in one way or the other already working on green buildings. And they are the Hong Kong Construction, Hong Kong Industry Council, the Hong Kong Environmental Assessment Method Society, the Business Environment Council, and also the Professional Green Building Council. So basically, the 4 main organizations who are in some way dealing with construction of buildings, development of buildings, as well as in some way the green building movement. So far, we have 3,000 associate members and we have 120 institutional members, and also a large number of supporting organizations. Public engagement and education is one of the aspects we initiate apart from running the BEAM Plus rating system. We have started off the Green Shop Alliance that is almost 3 years ago. The object is to target existing shops and shopping malls. As you are aware, these premises use a huge amount of energy and electricity, and they are all well visited by our general public. So we thought that if we were to target shops and shopping malls, and also their tenants, their patrons, there is a huge opportunity for us to get in touch with users and operators, as well as owners of these premises, so that we are able to instill the need for retrofitting, recommissioning, and better use of these premises in these people. At the same time, for the very general public, almost every year we have a Green Building Week, so that we are able to instill the green movement and also the green message to the general public. We have TV APIs and other means of reaching out to the general public, such as an exercise to search for green buildings in our densely built environment, participation in sports events, and also a Green Dress Day, and also, most importantly, to reach our students, being our young members of our community. We thought if we were to be able to transform them and instill the green knowledge to them at the early stage of their life, we should be able to public educate our general public. Looking forward, our work of green buildings in Hong Kong. As you'll probably be aware, the BEAM Plus rating system for the design, construction, and operation of existing buildings in Hong Kong, we have been targeted buildings in general, basically. Office buildings, residential buildings, other types of buildings, but the rating system itself is a general rating system. We thought that there are other types of specific buildings, specialized buildings, which use energy in a slightly different way from general buildings, like a data center, which use a huge amount of energy. There are school premises which are used by a lot of students. So we thought that to deal with specific buildings, special buildings, there is a need for perhaps a special rating system. As I said, we have been targeted basically buildings, but if we were to look at the whole built environment, there are a lot of civil engineering work, infrastructural work in the built environment, which has yet to be rated as sustainable and green infrastructure and civil works. So we are now exploring the development of a rating system for infrastructure works and civil works. Advancing net zero is a new subject which been advocated by the World Green Building Council, the Hong Kong government itself, and also in a way by the United Nations. So we are having a fresh look as to how we should take forward the green building movement and design through the concept of advancing net zero. So that is another subject we are having a new look. The initial idea is we are considering setting targets for reducing carbon emission in our existing buildings, and also the necessary tools for inducing the reduction of carbon emission. Contribution of Hong Kong BEAM towards occupational health and safety. In the new version of BEAM Plus, version 209, which was only published last year, we have introduced assessing buildability and constructability in the rating system. As you are well aware, where a building is buildable, then it's safer for their erection. So we think that not buildability is not only just for efficiency, but also for safety. So there are credits to be given for building which incorporates the concept. Also, in the new version issued last year, we incorporated the need for design for operation and maintenance of existing buildings to require the provision for condolers, pipe ducts, flow arrest system, maintenance platforms, movable working platforms to provide easy and safe access to be able to reach our building equipments, pipes, drainage systems, and all fitting out works in buildings. In the new version, there is a special section on health and well-being, which requires the provision of sufficient ventilation within buildings, health and active living space, and also inclusive designs for enhancing ventilation and waste disposal, and hopefully in the future waste reuse in the whole built environment. In the new existing BEAM Plus rating system, there is also credit given for operating a occupational health and safety system. There are also credit given for OSH 18001 being awarded bonus credits. In the BEAM Plus interior fitting out work, there is a requirement for safety management plan so that there is risk assessment being carried out before the carrying out of any fitting out work, alteration work, and the requirement for the provision of public protection equipment in buildings. existing buildings.
Okay. So dah bubuh sekali.
In the Beam Plus existing interior design, there are also requirements to ensure, encourage a healthy and safe working environment in terms of the provision of adjustable chair, sound barrier, and also bins for our organic waste. A thought on pay for safety. Actually, before I move on to green buildings, now in the Hong Kong Green Building Council, I have been working on construction safety in the Hong Kong Construction Industry Council for some years. So I have always been have in my mind how we should be able to improve construction safety. Currently, there is already provision in bills of quantities in Hong Kong to cover the provision of safety officer, safety management committee, safety ward, safety training, toolbox talks, campaigns in the bills of quantity, so that these safety measures are sufficiently quantified and paid for in a separate bills of quantity dealing with these construction safety requirements. There is also rewards or penalties if there were no accident in construction site and there was no prosecution for unsafe working method on construction site, also provided for in the bills of quantity. So what I have further thoughts in my mind is in order to provide a safe working environment on construction site, as you know, well aware of, probably better than me, there is a need for safe working platform, safe working procedure, safe methods for executing the many different parts and also phases of our construction work. Now, if these safety equipments and provisions on construction sites and also safe working method is separately and sufficiently allowed for in our bills of quantity, then there is a strong incentive for our contractors, our workers, to provide adequately these safety working equipments on construction site, and also allow sufficient time for safe working procedures to be followed on construction sites, so that once these are provided and followed, then it's paid for by the developer through the bills of quantity. Then we should be able to have a pay for safety system, hopefully covering the many safety aspects that needs pay and cost in our construction sites. So these are the thoughts that wish to provide for safety experts to consider in driving safety on construction sites. So basically, I think I have tried to cover the Hong Kong green building movement and some of the thoughts that I have in order to take forward the movement so that we are able not only to cover buildings, but also in the near future, hopefully, our infrastructural work, as well as for the whole built environment. As you'll probably be aware, in the whole built environment, in the whole city district, to cover buildings by themselves, to cover infrastructure works by themselves is not sufficient to drive the green as well as carbon reduction movement. If we are able to mobilize how we should best be able to make use of our natural environmental resources like water, air, and light, then we should be able to do better to improve the safe design and operation of our buildings and also our infrastructure work. So what I have further in mind is we should have a guidebook, maybe perhaps in the future, a rating system to cover the whole built environment. So these are the thoughts that I wish to share with you, and I'm more than welcome to listen to your views, to your comments, or on any ideas that you may have on these green and safety subjects. So there you are. I stand ready to listen to your views and ideas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cheung, for an enlightening and also interesting presentation on the development of green building in Hong Kong. It's a very good presentation, and we have a praise from the crowd, from the floor, from Zainul, saying that it's quite fruitful and also good sharing. So we would like to invite Zainul Abidin. He has a few questions.
Yes.
Zainul Abidin, would you mind to unmute and ask the questions? Because he has a few questions, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, please, by all means, share with us your questions and comments on.
Zainul Abidin, are you there?
Yes, thanks very much.
Yes, you may ask your questions.
Yeah, my questions are in the chat already. Can you just look at the chat and answer the questions?
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to communicate with the presenter.
Yes, thanks. Can you talk about the indoor air quality monitoring in HK, in Hong Kong, especially the incidence of Legionnaires' disease?
I'm sorry, I haven't been able to exactly catch your question. Can you?
In Malaysia,
yeah.
we have called the Industry Code of Practice for Indoor Air Quality.
Yes.
We measure the carbon dioxide, measure all the parameters, air exchange. So do you have the results of indoor air quality monitoring in UK, and how would they look like?
We have certain basically prescriptive requirements for indoor air quality.
Yes, yes. But what's the results?
Sorry,
what are the results of the monitoring? Are they good or no good, or are they better now?
Now, I think you have mentioned a very important subject. We have been able to find there are certain improvement in internal air quality. But we have not been able exactly in existing buildings to measure the improvement in quantitative terms, because once a building is completed, they are managed and occupied by different people. So we have not been able to drive for measurements in existing buildings. And what we are trying to do in our existing building rating system and also in our X-shop is to be able to reach out to owners and users of existing buildings to be able to start driving the need for measurement.
Thank you very much. Can you share with us the statistics of injuries and death in the construction sector? Because it's a very high risk job, especially death among the foreign workers, if you have any.
For one thing, in Hong Kong, we basically don't have foreign workers. If we have, we only allow foreign workers to come if we can provide sufficient proof that their skill is not available in Hong Kong. So as a result, the number of foreign workers in Hong Kong are very few. The other question it raised about construction safety in Hong Kong. We have been in the past 15 years now, I think, been able to drive the accident rate down, but we are not able in the last 6 years, maybe 10 years, to sufficiently drive the death rate. So there's a lot that we need to do to drive down death rates, death accidents in construction sites. There has not been, to be quite frank, much movement in that aspect in the last 6 years.
Thanks very much. Can you mention to me the measure of carbon emission in UK? Is it better now or more? Can you please?
By the way, just a quick one, because it's run out of time. So can you answer in briefly so that we can pass to the mic to the other speaker?
Sorry, are you asking the safety aspect or the green building aspects in UK or?
No, you mentioned about carbon emission. It should be less in Hong Kong. How do you go about measuring the carbon emission? Is it less? What are the results of the monitoring? That's all. Thank you.
We have only last year developed a converter for the purpose of converting from energy use to carbon emission. So we are starting to encouraging the use of the converter. It's basically a formula. If you use certain energy, then in terms of electricity, then there is a certain amount of carbon that you will be emitting. So that's the way we are trying to do.
Thank you very much for all the explanation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cheng. Can you stop sharing the slides?
Yeah.
So if you like Mr. Cheng's presentation, can you put a thumbs up for him? There's a reaction button. Can you put a thumbs up for him?
Put a thumbs up, huh?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This presentation is very interesting. There are plenty of questions which was unanswered. We are sorry about it because we ran out of time, so we have to proceed with the next speaker. So without further ado, let me introduce the next speaker. So it is our greatest honor to be able to invite Mr. Muhammad Anuar bin Embi. He's the Deputy Director General of Department of Occupational Safety and Health, WAPOSHP, Malaysia, who is going to share with us about the self-regulations in management of certificated machinery. So in Malaysia, there is a legislations where there are certain machineries which require to have a certificate of fitness. We call it a CF before it is allowed to be operated. So let's join me in welcoming Mr. Muhammad Anuar bin Embi for his presentations.
Great. Thank you. First of all, Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everybody. Today, thank you for giving me a chance to actually share with you all our new initiative, very important one in Malaysia, in terms of how we want to manage dangerous machinery, whereby required CF. So we are actually want to change the way we want to manage this dangerous machinery. It's a very short talk, but I will give you some overview or share with you what we want to do with it and how we are moving forward to a better, management of OSH in Malaysia. So as introduction, actually, we have a specific regulation actually.
Malaysia.
Hello? Malaysia. Currently, actually since 1970, we have a regulation to actually manage our machinery in Malaysia, whereby it's very old approach of regulation, whereby it's a very prescriptive type of regulation. It incorporate all the technical specification and so on in 1970. And then in 2014, we actually moved to a so-called risk-based approach, whereby we introduced a special scheme of inspection in 2014. And now we are in the midst of introducing a new approach, a total self-regulation approach for us to manage dangerous machinery in Malaysia. Okay, that's the introduction. So the framework for self-regulation that we use to develop the so-called new regulation, whereby we want to use a self-regulation concept, is first of all, the objective will be still safety and health of workers. That's our objective to be achieved for this regulation. And also another thing that we also try to incorporate is to build a safety and health culture in our workplace. Okay, that is our objective. Okay, for this new regulation. So for us to transform to self-regulation concept, we collaborate with industry actually to find ways and means the best approach that can benefit the government and also industry. And this regulation especially, we are aiming at oil and gas industry because they have big petrochemical plants all over Malaysia. And we did collaboration with Petronas, our oil and gas company in Malaysia. We benchmark with Europe, the UK, Norway, US, Japan, and also some other countries to find the best framework for us to actually develop a good so-called legislation that can benefit us, especially the government and also the industry. So one of the main elements under self-regulation concept is for us to put a requirement whereby we can actually transfer responsibility to make sure all this dangerous machinery is safe to be used you know, in terms of responsibility to the industry. Right now, the old legislation, some of big responsibility lies on the government, whereby we did the machinery inspection and so on. We approved the design of the machine. We actually also approve so-called procedure to repair machinery and so on. A lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tapes in the old so-called legislation. So for the new legislation, we are actually putting all the responsibilities to industry. Okay, that's the first thing that we consider in developing our new legislation. The second one is we are actually looking at flexibility of our enforcement approach. Right now, every 15 months, we have to actually inspect machinery, and the only method that we do is physical inspection. By having this new legislation, we are trying to find the you know, flexibility of enforcement. Maybe we don't have to go to the site even you know, to actually make sure people to comply with the so-called our legislation. And we are looking at self-assessment method, that sort of thing, reporting, and so on. So we are seriously looking at, you know, how to actually make us, the government, more flexible to actually enforce this law. Because right now, our government policy is that, you know, we try to actually not to add any more personnel to our department. And also right now, the cost also quite high. And another thing that we consider is, you know, the new machinery coming in every year. You know, right now we have also problem of backlogs of inspection. So this element is very critical to us. So we actually study, you know, the way that people do around the world. And also we are looking at other means to actually to make our enforcement approach more flexible, and it will give a benefit to the government in terms of productivity, you know, effectiveness, and also cost. So the next element that we are considering in developing our law is self-monitoring on law compliance. One of the area that we are looking at is using IT, whereby all data on the compliance must be kept by the industry, and also we are able to access the system anytime that we want, things like that. And also we are putting in the so-called internal regulators at their side, not from our side, but from their side, to actually manage on the compliance of the law. So, you know, we seriously actually want to pass all the responsibility that we have done before to the industry by making some provision in our law for them to actually have a good system of monitoring on compliance of the law. And at the same time, we can actually access to their system to check anytime, you know, whether they actually comply with our law. So that is also important in our new regulation. Then, of course, to actually support self-regulation, industry must have qualified person and professionals. I think this is the most important thing that industry must have. not only internally, but also they can use external qualified people, professional to support the so-called on how to comply with the law. So that, you know, I think this will benefit a lot of people, not only the industry, but we are actually creating jobs and so on. And also business opportunity for OSH service providers in Malaysia to participate in this program. So in the long run, we hope Malaysia will actually building up competencies among industry in safety and health. So the next one will be good practices and standard. We actually want to open up our legislation, not like before, so rigid to certain standard and specification. But this new legislation, we want to actually make it very flexible for industry to actually use any good practices and standards that is suitable or recognized to actually suit their operations. Currently, our legislation sometimes actually stop people from using new technology and so on because it's too prescriptive type of legislation. So now we are moving forward to actually open up the so-called this flexibility for industry to actually use good practices and standards. Then, of course, self-regulation will be based on risk-based approach in managing safety and health, okay, including the machine safety. So we already actually use it in 2014 when we actually introduced a special scheme of inspection. But the problem is still not really conducive sort of legislation for actually industry to actually comply. They are so still there are red tapes and procedures that they need to follow to get our approval and so on. But now when we introduced OSHA 1994, it is a risk-based sort of legislation. So we are actually, you know, moving towards making all our regulation now using this sort of approach. So for machine safety, nowadays, I think throughout the world, they use a risk-based inspection methodology to actually manage their machine like pressure vessel, boilers, and so on. So we are actually looking or study thoroughly the practice used by other people, and we try to actually get an approach that is suitable for Malaysian systems, okay? So another element when we actually develop this regulation is management system of OSH. So in order to make so-called industry more committed and more organized, we are looking at a provision. It's a must for anybody who want to adopt this regulation must have a good management system equivalent to the current one, ISO 45001. So we benchmark the management system, and we try to incorporate what the important elements in the 45,000 in our guideline of management system of OSH. So this another one, I think a new requirement It's not mentioned in other legislation in our system, but this is the first time this legislation will put so-called requirement on industry to actually adopt, implement, and of this system, management system of OSH. So basically, this new regulation, when we want to introduce, this is the framework, and we define self-regulation based on these elements. And what is important in our mind is we don't want to hinder any so-called bad approach that can give negative impact to the industry in terms of management of safety and also their operation, business, you know, things like that. That is actually our framework for our new regulation on the so-called management of certificated machinery. So the next, the last slide actually is we are looking at the impact, and we actually anticipate that the impact to the government are like using current self-regulatory approach to replace prescriptive, whereby it's easier for industry to actually comply with the law to meet our objective to actually prevent any accident or any adverse effect to health to workers. So actually we are actually moving to use current approach for our legislation. And the second one is definitely. Hello. So the second one is the so-called transfer of liability to industry. Who create the risk, they are the one who should be responsible. So the old legislation, a lot of liability on the government with the concept of who create the risk should be responsible of taking care of safety. Then this legislation actually we will transfer all the responsibility to the industry. Then the third one, of course, like I said, flexibility of enforcement approach. I think the challenge for all the authority around the world is the resources, and the workplace keep, the number of workplace keep growing, machinery keep growing, and for government to actually put resources is, is a challenge. So in this legislation, we hope that we can actually make us more flexible in terms of the method of enforcement that we can do. So hopefully it will be like less cost, less inspectors need to actually enforce this law. The fourth one will be, this law will create and leverage competent persons and professional. To us, it will definitely give a chance to OSH professional to actually provide their services to help industry to actually enhance OSH in Malaysia. So we actually creating jobs and also business opportunity to OSH service providers in Malaysia. And the impact to the industry on the right. The first one is enhancement of so-called responsibility and OSH management capacity of industry. So our legislation aiming at putting relevant provision to actually to make industry more committed, more responsible, and hopefully to enhance their capacity in managing safety and health. The second one is flexibility in using current engineering standard and OSH good practice. Not like before, now it's open for industry to choose the right practice and standard that is suitable for their operation and also to safe and healthy. So I think when we do engagement with oil and gas, they actually welcome this sort of so-called impact to them. And in fact, right now after COVID, when the economy actually affected, then they really ask us to speed up introducing this new law as soon as possible, because there is an opportunity, the last impact, for them to actually optimize operation of their plant in terms of efficiency, maintenance costs, and also productivity, and so that they can be competitive. Okay, so this new legislation, when we develop, these are the things in our mind with so-called with this framework. So right now we already have the draft regulation, and hopefully on 15th of July we are going to have public comments on the legislation, and after that definitely we will get approval from our ministry for us to submit to the Attorney General office, to get approval. Once that happens, hopefully as soon as possible, we will have this new so-called legislation in Malaysia that will benefit everybody. Firstly, of course, the workers, safety and health, and then to the government, and also to the industry. So I think that's all my sharing with you all about our so-called development in safety and health. Especially, we start to actually use self-regulation approach to our legislation, and now at this time we are looking at introducing self-regulatory approach to dangerous machinery in industry. So that's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Anuar bin Embi. So on behalf of everyone here, I would like to thank you for taking your time and also effort to speak with us on the topic of self-regulations approach in management of certificated machineries. All right, there is a question from Brian Ng. So I believe that he is from Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. Brian Ng, are you here? Brian Ng, would you mind to switch on your mic or audio?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, all right, you may ask your questions.
Yeah, I just want to ask the questions about the crane inspections and the frequency, or how often the crane will be carried out the inspections, and the load test should be carried out before the certificate will be issued.
So right now is every 15 months, 5 months right now. So our inspector will go to the site and actually have a physical inspection on the integrity of cranes right now.
So will there be any load tests being carried out?
Maybe, but usually load tests will be carried out during the so-called the first inspection, and the annual inspection depend on the situation or the result of our physical inspection. If required, then definitely we will carry out the load test and so on, whatever tests, NDT test or whatever things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the load test will be case to case basis.
Okay. So, but I think this legislation is actually aiming for the so-called big companies like petrochemical plant. So for the normal crane, I don't think people want to actually adopt this legislation, because once we have like a management system, it's a very stringent requirement compared to our law. So we are not actually promoting to small industries, like they are having only few dangerous machinery. They can use either our special scheme of inspection or our old legislation. So this legislation actually we are targeting to actually like a refinery, you know, gas processing plant, whereby they have hundreds of pressure vessels and also boilers, whereby the turnaround will cost them, you know, millions of ringgit, maybe about 200 million. So by having this legislation, actually, they can actually reduce the turnaround. Maybe, for example, in 5 years, they have to carry out 3 turnaround according to our old legislation. Now they can only do once turnaround by using risk-based inspection. So there are, you know, instead of 3 turnaround, they can only do 2 turnaround, which can come up to about 400 million saving. You know, so we have so many plants. If all the petrochemical actually adopt this law, actually the saving will be, you are talking about billions of dollars every year. So it help our economy, you know, so good. That's why we are looking at how the legislation not only, you know, prevent accident, but also help the industry to actually optimize their operation. So we are talking about billions of ringgit, you know, a year, when people can actually optimize their operation. Okay. Any other question?
Thank you.
Right, does he answer your question?
Yep, thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, one more last question before we proceed on with the next presenter. So from JB Min Lee, he or she is asking about, may I ask what are the responsibilities the government has currently? Since you have mentioned that with the new legislation, the responsibility will be shifted to the industry.
Well, one good example is we are the one who actually issue the certificate of fitness. Means anything wrong to the machinery when in, you know, in operation, we also liable, you know, people can sue us. Actually, we are the one who actually issue certificate of fitness to machine. So that's one example. I think you know, we have a big responsibility. People make money, you know, using the machinery, but we actually having the so-called big liability.
The ultimate responsibilities is falls on the governments, where they will put the blame. Then what do you expect? You know, why don't you want to ensure that actually the monitoring part, like what Sir mentioning, that monitoring part should be forced on the owner of the machine itself rather than the government.
Right.
Yeah,
That's one of the example, so-called big responsibility or liability on the government side. But now, who create the risk? They should be responsible. So we actually, with this legislation, we are passing all responsibility to the owner of you know, any machines.
Yes, exactly. That's what it should be. And now in terms of shifting off the, it's not to say shifting up the responsibilities to the industry player, but then each stakeholders, like for instance the designer of the machines and the manufacturers, so they are part of the responsibilities to ensure the safety of the machine itself that can be operated safely by the end user.
Exactly.
So actually DOS actually, like our DOS is they are actually functioning and go to check on whether it's function and whether the safety features or any equipment that need to be fixed so that the worker or end user can be used safely. So that is the functions of DOSH, I think, basically, right?
Right, including professional, OSH
Yeah.
professional, competent people also will be responsible under this.
Correct. Because it's part of the procedures where we need the competent person to be around, so to help the Department of Occupational Safety and Health in terms of checking on the functionality and so the safety of the machine itself. All right, I think there's no more question for them. All right, so I think that's all. So on behalf of organizer, once again, I would like to thank you very much for your presentations. So I do hope that you will stay with us, remain with us. So if you have some other tasks to be carrying on, so you may leave. If not, then you just stay with us. So thank you very much on speaking to us, and your insights very helpful to us. I believe that the participants are beneficiaries from your presentations. Thank you. All right, so next, without further delay, I would like to introduce our third speaker. She is Miss Ada Fung. All right, let me show my slide. So Miss Ada Fung Yin-Suen. So she is the president of Hong Kong Alliance of Built, Assets and Environmental of Information Management Association, and she's also the former deputy director of housing of Hong Kong, and she's going to share with us about building information modeling, BIM, and site safety. These are quite interesting topics. So I do hand over to Miss Ada Fung to deliver her speech. So let's join me in welcoming Miss Ada Fung. Miss, are you all right? You have unmuted.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, CK. I'm Ada Fung, and perhaps I shall share my screen for you first.
Yeah, you may do so.
Yeah.
All right, we can see it clearly.
Right, I'm going to show it in the slideshow mode. Yeah. Good morning, once again. Thank you for inviting me to share with you our experience about BIM and safety and health. Now, perhaps I should let you know more about myself. I'm Ada Fung. As mentioned, I'm president of the Hong Kong Alliance of Built Asset and Environment Information Management Associations. And also, I'm also chairperson for the Hong Kong chapter of Building Smart International and chairperson Committee on BIM for the Construction Industry Council. So this is my patch on BIM. And I'm also former Deputy Director of Housing in Hong Kong until I retired in end 2017. And I've been providing public housing to about 45% population in Hong Kong. And also about site safety, I am president of Lighthouse Club of Hong Kong, and I'm advisor to a number of safety associations and also past chairperson of Committee on Safety for CIC. And about green buildings, I've been director and board secretary of the World Green Building Council in 2020. And in my work, I believe that everything must integrate for sustainability. And so safety leadership, BIM leadership, and also green leadership are the patches that I've championed in my work career for Housing Authority and for myself. So this is a more holistic introduction about me. So earlier on, Mr. Cheung Hau-wai has talked about green buildings. And the theme for this webinar is OSH stakeholders in the society. So let's take a look at a holistic picture about our work in the built asset industry. So I would like to first introduce you to the World Green Building Council. And the World Green Building Council promotes green buildings for everyone, everywhere. We have only one planet, so how to keep on track our mission of delivering net zero, healthy, equitable, and sustainable built environments for everyone, everywhere. So a global network of green building councils, including Hong Kong Green Building Council, is leading the transformation of built environment to make it healthier and more sustainable. And we appreciate that green buildings would improve our lives and bottom line. First is healthy, positive impact on the health and well-being of inhabitants, and good business for homeowners, occupiers, tenants, demand green and healthy buildings, and it's good investment for investors as well. And from green buildings to meet United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 3, take a look, is good health and well-being. So we have to map our work against these Sustainable Development Goals, primarily along health and well-being, advancing net zero, and also the circular economy and resources. So use our planet's resources wisely. And turning to another page about Vision Zero, developed by International Social Security Association, ISSA, promoting safety, health, and well-being. So there's some commonalities across green buildings, safety and health. And there are 7 golden rules for Vision Zero. The first, from first to the 7th one. And the first rule is take leadership. So here I would like to turn a page to the Lighthouse Club, which has been taking safety leadership very seriously in Hong Kong. For the Lighthouse Club, our motto is consideration for others. And we have our objectives: promote fellowship within the industry, provide assistance to those in need with the industry who are victims of accidents or illness and to their dependents where fatality has occurred. And we contribute to site safety with annual awards since 1996, including Safe Foreman Award, Golden Helmet Award, Safe Leadership Awards, and Health and Safety Supplier of the Year Awards. And I'm a firm believer and dreamer that all accidents are preventable. 2 dreams spring to my mind immediately. My first dream is to reduce high-rise, high-risk on-site safe activities for human beings. To this end, in this digital era, we must make the best use of IT and innovative measures to help enhance workplace safety for our industry. These may include a host of applications such as off-site fabrication in the factory environment, building information modeling, BIM, RFID, IoT, mobile devices, robotics, AI, you name it, digitalization in this era. My second dream is to inculcate a genuine safety culture in our workforce. I hope that they will demand for a safe system of work instead of being instructed to do so reluctantly. These may include advanced safety training for workers, like silver card training, use of safety climate index, safety promotion incentive schemes by employers, and furthermore, how about training workers as safety trainers for more effective coaching and mentoring by peers? So finally, there comes to a big question: what is your contribution in this safety in your daily work and beyond? I wish to call upon all the safety experts to go the extra mile with my dreams in mind. So this is my outline of presentation today. First is talking about BIM in the Hong Kong industry. Second is BIM crossover with site safety. And third is cultural change using housing authorities' experience. So take a first look at the BIM in the Hong Kong industry. So I'm president of the Hong Kong Alliance of Built Asset Environment Information Management Associations. And the reason behind is that we would like to enhance the collaboration among built asset and environment information management communities in Hong Kong. Second is to connect to the international built asset environment information management communities, such as Building Smart International. And thirdly is to promote and advance the general education, understanding, appreciation of, and interest of and in built asset and environment information modeling management. So how we get there? We got there in a short time. So start work last year and attend various standard summits. Our association is formed by 3 founding members, namely the Hong Kong Institute of BIM, Hong Kong Institute of Building and Civil Information Management, and also Hong Kong GIS Association. So within a short span of time, less than 6 months, we have got ourselves accredited to the Building Smart International as the Hong Kong chapter. And our vision for Hong Kong and BIMA is to foster societal collaboration for smarter information management across the built asset environment. And for Building Smart International, they enable full benefits from digital ways of working in the built asset industry. And we promote open BIM and interoperability across different softwares. So this is where we are today. So we would like to invite all of you, for companies, you can join us as corporation members. For education institutions, can join as education members. And for associations, you can join us as society members. For individuals, you can join our founding members as their individual members. So second part, we take a look at BIM in Hong Kong. And the progress of BIM adoption in Hong Kong, from the project lifecycle of built asset, from planning and design, construction, operation and maintenance, you can find our support from the Hong Kong Construction Industry Council, the CIC. And we integrate BIM with technologies and tools, like in the life cycle, with data model and also with different connectivity of softwares, from the design metrics program requirements, design tools, energy tools, to the commissioning tools and active tests in construction and commissioning, and also occupancy for the information monitoring and diagnostic system with local or web-based, and automated diagnostic tools in operation and maintenance phases. And finally, to retrofitting tools for retrofit renovation and decommissioning. So we can use BIM to integrate with various tools and IT systems. So for our mission, we collaborate with the built asset industry for closer working collaboration across the entire AECOO community, namely the architectural engineering, construction, operations, and owners. How we integrate the policy with objective setting, strategy, standards and guidelines, certification, registration, and also support and implementation. To people with collaboration and communications, build capacity with cultural value change and training. For process, we integrate with different technologies and methodologies and applications and workflow, and also coordinating and scheduling. To technology, we have Industry 4.0, we have Smart City 3.0, Construction 2.0, information management and interoperable technologies. So if you take a quick look at the timeline of BIM adoption in Hong Kong, actually it started off in the new millennium after year 2000. And since the year 2012, CIC started to coordinate the work in Hong Kong. And 2014 is the first BIM year, and 2019 is the second BIM year. And in the intervening years, government has been moving along. First is by the private sector and some public bodies, and then in 2018, government mandates that all Hong Kong's government projects exceeding 30 million must use BIM. And CIC is a center of excellence for BIM in Hong Kong, from promotion and publicity, training, setting standards and guidelines, certification and accreditation, and R&D and funding support. So take a look at last year's work. Last year is a very fruitful year. So we have BIM talks and interviews with key practitioners, opening up the CIC BIM space to provide a resource hub. And there are 5 major achievements last year as a BIM year. We established and published more BIM standards for MEP and underground utilities. And we launched BIM accreditation and certification schemes and established a BIM space, which is the new large space for our industry stakeholders to come and join us and to find out more solutions about BIM. And organized our first ever BIM competition for tertiary students. And then it's also establishing Hong Kong chapter doing Smart International. So this is where we are, established our Hong Kong chapter in October last year. Take a look at how we network with international and Asia-Pacific area. We have our Asia-Pacific Regional BIM Group meeting and forum in 2018. And we've represented from different economies, from 9 economies. And we have different economies with different stages of BIM adoption, some driven by government regulators, some driven by public sector procurers and developers, and some is an industry-coordinated initiative, and some of them not driven by public sector, but some private sectors developers adopt BIM. So we have different stages of development. And there are 2 types of BIM drivers in the global arena. First, those who dare to dream at the strategic level, and second, those who set standards at the technical level. Some can be both. Academia needs to help to include BIM in their curriculum. And with our resolution in 2018, we discussed a variety of next steps to furthering BIM collaboration amongst the APAC economies, and we to explore directions in 3 areas. First, formation of events. Second, knowledge sharing. And third is investigation, sharing of BIM strategies. And then in 2019, we have another meeting with the Asia Pacific group, and we share the BIM adoption by representatives of different economies, like policy in driving BIM and status in adoption of open BIM and BIM education. Also sharing of a discussion on key success factors to accelerate BIM adoption, way forward and possible collaboration amongst different economies on BIM adoption. This is where we were last year. And there's some sound bites from different economies, like BIM adoption, maturity and diffusion in Hong Kong, data for public good in UK, smart construction, Korea, and free information delivery manuals for Netherlands, and quality standard knowledge beyond applications from China, and facility management and infrastructure in USA, and building smart national fit for purpose schema. So this is the key success factor in accelerating BIM adoption from mindset and cultural change, workflow and incentives, with clients increasing focus on interfacing responsibilities between stakeholders, education and training, enabling procurers and suppliers to drive BIM demand, and others like fit for purpose CDE and benefits and ROI calculation. And knowledge sharing repository, like curate knowledge for specific project types and align strategies and definitions with common standards and information security. Public sector leadership to inspire private sector. This is also very important, like reward performance and also consolidate simplified shareable BIMs, and others like leverage users' feedback for the software community. And finally, take a look at BIM adoption survey in Hong Kong last year. We have 7 groups of users from government departments, statutory bodies, real estate developers and asset owners, consultants, BIM consultants, main contractors, and subcontractors, comprising over thousands of users. So we have more than 1,400 questionnaires, 700 responded. And the result is that 44% are BIM adopters, 26 have not been adopters, they are BIM laggards. They do not have active BIM projects or have not heard of BIM. And BIM leaders, top 20% BIM adopters assessed by BIM diffusion and BIM maturity. So these are the BIM adopters, BIM leaders, and the BIM laggards. So the top 5 users by percentage are primarily the BIM, the 3D coordination, design authoring, design reviews, drawing generation, existing conditions modeling. So if we analyze the BIM leaders and BIM adopters, you can find that BIM leaders have 80% BIM usage and 12.7% BIM users counts and 7% and 7 BIM users with benefits. So the benefits and BIM users out of 20 BIM users are much higher in the BIM leaders than the normal BIM adopters. And if we analyze the survey in 2018 and 2019, we have some similarities in the top BIM users, but we found that the number of users have almost doubled in 1 year's time. And key hurdles of BIM adoption: hurdle 1, lack of BIM resources; hurdle 2, compliance-driven mindset; hurdle 3, difficulties in changing workflows and practices. So our vision for BIM adoption in Hong Kong is that we identify hurdles and motivations of adoption, reference success of the leaders and other international examples with value-driven and BIM-led workflow, and changing mindset from compliance-driven, double handling to a more value-driven mindset. So the way forward is that we'll provide BIM resources such as BIM standards and guidelines and templates for BIM contract specifications and BIM objects, and provide group-specific BIM training for project teams, technical, contractual, and clients with awareness of BIM benefits, and regulatory bodies for review and approval of BIM submissions, and demonstrate best practice in BIM implementations with case studies and experience sharing, and give recognition to exemplary projects and people, continuous benchmarking by surveys and KPIs, facilitate the transition from traditional workflow to BIM-enabled workflows. So we found that this is filtering down from public sector, government regulators and government procurers, public sector procurers, to private sector developers, then to consultants, to contractors and subcontractors. We can see this cascading going through the last 2 years. And now this year, subcontractors are demanding us for more BIM training. So next, our topic is about BIM and site safety. In last year, 2019, a BIM year, we have a lot of BIM talks. And the 5th BIM talk is the BIM talks crossover with safety in the safety week. And for BIM strategy, for design, we can have design for safety and build IoT and site safety and operate with VR operation and safety training and IoT for staff and visitors safety. And for safety management, we have design for safety with BIM and planning of safe working sequence and safer working methods, and safety training and education, safety planning, job analysis, job hazard analysis, and pre-task planning, also site safety management. And for BIM in Housing Authority, application encompass full design and construction cycle from the investigation to scheme design, detail design, and from planning stage to design stage to construction stage, statutory submissions and completion and post-completion. And as the BIM for the Drainage Services Department with the Sunway sewage treatment works projects with asset management, design construction, safety, AR, VR applications, point cloud, and coordination. And for BIM application from planning to operation with CLP Power for Hong Kong Limited, quantity takeoff with site safety and spatial requirements and design, planning, design, construction, and operations. So a lot of these organizations have been embracing safety and BIM in their practices and use it holistically. And for BIM asset management and railway safety, for EMSD, extend BIM usage in the railway industry from construction stage to asset management stage, and visualize the results of artificial intelligence data, analytic of historical and real-time data on BIM platform, predictive maintenance, and enhanced safety training. And usage of BIM in the design stage, working with future operator on safety issues for O&M activities. This is for the demolition of Luang Hotel Gok Estate, which is the first precast building block to be demolished using visualization on demolition sequence and method statements with 0 accidents. And also for use of BIM in design stage with the future operator, and for narrow passageway for safe delivery of equipment for maintenance and replacement with modified general arrangements and structural design. And also view of BIM model after revision of design. And for construction stage, IoT safety helmets and BIM model for enhancing safety of confined space workers. And this is can use it for monitoring of workers' safety through use of safety helmets for operational health and safety monitoring, body temperature, heart rate, detect fall of person, and for site and plant access management. For management portal, the data transfer to cloud-based management portal, location shown in BIM model, and alerts issued when the normal conditions detected. And for targets, VR user with the site video of IoT safety helmets and BIM model in the Sunway sewage treatment plant, phase 1. And also, this is location displacement of the chemically enhanced base primary treatment. The purpose is to train a lone operator to escape while nearest escape route using BIM simulations. And also train a lone operator to escape while nearest route and also using this BIM model. And also with UK BIM specification for health and safety, like PAS 1192 Part 6, and also BIM for construction and safety and health. And CIC has also got work on safety with the Safety Experience Training Center with IoT enabled, and distribution of VR work at height training kit to our sites for use. The VR training kit work is at height can be used by contractors on site. The part 3 about cultural change from housing authorities' experience. My first dream is to reduce high-rise, high-risk activities. So innovation and functional safety installations are important. So contractors' innovations are recognized by safety auditors, recommended by OSHC, and approved by project teams for payment under Pay for Safety scheme. So what was innovative in the previous years becomes normal practice nowadays. And what is innovative today become normal practice in future. So take a look at design for safety. Hazards exist in around home, external areas, and outside property boundaries, and design for these occasions comprehensively for safety, health and well-being of people of all ages and abilities. Like air conditioning installations from inside the flats, there's no need to go outside to install air conditioners. And also locate condensate pipes close to window, which are openable. Also from glazing from inside, glazing bead and glass panel easily dismantled from inside. Safe design for maintenance and cleansing staff. For maintenance and cleansing staff, they have to take place with potentially hazardous locations such as roofs and plant rooms. So we provide safe access and protected working space in the design stage. So we have to visualize these upfront and enable provision of railings to prevent accidents from fall, and provide locked access from inside the building at the same level. And stairs are preferable than using kept ladders, where access stairs can be feasible, but staircases are impractical. And provide flat surface to stand on. So these are the caring for people for different users, including cleansing and maintenance staff, right up front, the design stage and the planning stage, with safe design for construction workers as well. So reduce on-site processes to improve site safety. Also rotational symmetry in building design reduces need to ground large panel formwork and amount of lifting operations, hence improving safety. And also integrated example, providing upper roof with safe access. Sometimes we still have to provide cat ladders with short runs, but mostly by steel ladders where possible, and suspended steel working platform for service. And also safe access for twin tank at the site. So we also provide safe access for maintenance with M&E equipment at high level. And also provide parapets of adequate strength to provide proper access to parapets and electricity supply for fixing and powering gondolas for subsequent building maintenance for the whole life cycle of buildings. And by the way, buildings are designed to last for 100 years and provide protection to safety lifeline over sharp edges of parapets. So innovative and functional installations using BIM and RFID on site. These can be provided to a lot of equipment, like for VR training and building information modeling for use in safety training, like understanding how the work procedures and method statements with foreseeable risk and hazard by visualized and dynamic presentation. And also permit to mobile plant and workers. With plant permit RFID chip, provided the accessibility for all relevant information of mobile plants, authorized operators and workers, and lifting warning system of tower cranes with RFID tag and device for detecting workers. And RFID eye on the project with monitoring of plant speed, and RFID contactless access monitoring and recording systems. And then using mobile apps can help to enable easy access of information and records for site staff. That includes the instant validation of plant and equipment through cloud technology, and the management of our using smart devices for safety management systems, and take record and monitor. Also development of construction site mobile systems for safety and quality records. And this can ensure streamlined management of safety, quality, and productivity on site. And for lifting operations, mobile alarming systems and video for specific site safety training with lifting safety. Communication technology, tower crane lifting alert systems, and double safety device installed at the lifting hook to prevent slipping of lifting gear. And for safety innovations like lifting gear certified C-clamp, tailor-designed lifting gear, and spring clip with remote control. And for monitoring of movement of plants, there can be audio-visual alarm systems in gondolas, remote-controlled concrete skip, and wireless reversing video device for vehicles, CCTV systems for mechanical plants, remote CCTV surveillance monitoring systems. And all these can be interconnected and related. A smart card control system and interlock beneath seat for forklift truck, authorizing system of access card for bobcats. And for sustained improvements, we need cultural change. We'll take a look at the accident rates per 1,000 workers since 1989 until this captured through 2016. Has dropped dramatically. Accident rates for about 1,000 workers in 2016 for housing authorities Newark is 6.8, and for Hong Kong is 34.5 for an average. And for that year, fertility for Hong Kong, for housing authority is 0, and Hong Kong, all the sites is 10. And you would analyze it. For the first phase, we call it technical improvements since the early 90s with reactive and incident-based systems. And then we have safety management later on. And then preventive and process-based operations introduced. And the third phase is the change of safety culture around the early millennium. And then you can see that accidents has dropped dramatically. And be creative and committed. So how to walk the talk? For safe working cycle, every day, contractors would talk to their workers to advocate site safety culture. And then we advocate that safety is everybody's business. So for this site, where there are a number of near-miss incidents occurred, our project architect voluntarily go to site and join the morning exercise with contractors, frontline staff, and managers and workers, and talk about safety to promote this safety culture. So it's everyone's business and all own responsibility to prevent accidents. And then trade unions deliver safety talks to workers during lunchtime on site. Again, all own this shared responsibility to prevent accidents. So advocating safety culture. Safety experts, we hope that you can train workers to be safety trainers as well. So all own this responsibility and action to prevent accidents. And how to change workers' mindsets from you want me to do it to I want to do it safely. And all own this responsibility, and peer support is very important as well. So finally, I'll advocate for a way forward. First is to embrace digitalization in information technology in this digital era. And second, to engage people, nurture safety culture, walk with them. And thirdly, go for holistic solutions and go the extra mile. So safety is a long journey that has a starting point, but no ending point. Let's go the extra mile. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the awesome sharing, Mr. Dato. All right, there is a question from Brian Ng. So if you would like to ask about the example on how the system to reduce the working risk and working height. So Brian would like to switch on your mic to ask the questions further, if there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to inquire about the implementations of IoT, how you can reduce the risk to work at height.
Now, for IoT or for BIM, you can simulate the working environment before the work is done. So you can plan it. And also work with the team right through to the workers to see how they can do it, how they can execute the work. For the case, for IoT, you can have a number of systems, like you can have the monitoring systems, and also RFID tags, and also BIM, and integrated systems to ensure that it's working safely. For demolition case, we simulate the work using BIM, and the workers can know where they can hook the safety lifelines, and then which is the one to be demolished first without successive collapse. Bear in mind that one is demolishing a precast building. So all these have to be planned very carefully before execution. So this is how we can integrate IT, IoT, and digitalization into the work to ensure site safety.
Okay, so-called it's an integration of system.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Raj.
All right. Is there any other question from the floor? A lot of concepts such as design for safety and prevention through design works well with the ethos of BIM and the promotions of collaborations between the project team throughout the whole delivery processes. So it's a very good sharing, you know, and certainly the BIM is not new in the industry, but then still takes some time for us to learn on this. But it's a very good sharing. So we do hope that you don't mind to share with us your slides after this. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dato, once again. So for your efforts and also your time in sharing with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Harun, are you there? Mr. Harun. Hi, Mr. Harun. Hello. Mr. Harun, can you stop sharing your slide? Because your slot is at the next, your slot is the next slot.
Yes, KK.
Yeah. Yours is next slot. Are you able to speak or you want to change the schedule?
No, I'm trying to share the screen now.
Okay.
Is it okay? Is it?
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it. Yeah, it's very clear.
Okay.
So your presentation is on next slot, sir.
Oh, not this slot, yeah?
Not this slot.
Oh, good. Then it's good.
Okay. Okay, right. You stop sharing the screen first.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing now.
All right.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you. So it is our greatest pleasure for me to introduce the next speaker, which is the fourth speaker of today, Engineer Conrad Fung from Hong Kong, who is the Vice President of Hong Kong Construction Associations. He'll be sharing with us. On how does a main contractor to ensure the effective implementation of its site safety. So without further ado, let us welcome Engineer Conrad Fung.
Thank you, Mr. Lim, for your introduction about myself. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, my dear friend is Ada Fung. And I do totally agree with her that safety is a long journey. Always starting point and no ending point. And that's why I wish to share with you the topic today. How does a main contractor to ensure the effective implementation of its site safety? And I think with the 30 years working experience in the construction industry, and like Ada, I know very much about site safety, how difficult to implement site safety on site. So we always talk about zero accident. And this is sometimes quite remote and almost impossible to achieve. But however, we always say this is a target that we all want to achieve, zero accident. So that's why safety is a long journey, always a starting point and no ending point. So to start with my presentation, so let me upload my PowerPoint. Here you are.
Right. Clear.
So you can see the PowerPoint.
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you. And today's topic again is how does a main contractor to ensure the effective implementation of its site safety from a contractor's point of view, of course. So in a construction project, in the old days, people always say, what are the major attributes to a successful construction project? And the formal answer will always be time, cost, and quality. This is quite understandable because we do have very tight construction period in the construction project in Hong Kong, because time is money. And in terms of cost, all the contractors mainly focus on making profit. So of course, profit is not a dirty word, and cost is, I must admit, cost is very important. And the other aspect is quality. And the cost of construction in Hong Kong is very high because of the quality requirement is also very high, especially from the house buyer. they do have a very high expectation due to they pay a lot of money to buy their own home. And they do have extremely high expectation for the final products they have. When they get into their new home, they are looking for almost zero defects. And nowadays, as the society progresses, people would say safety is also very important, as well as environmental. And the local legislation about the safety penalty and also the violation of the environmental legislation, rules and regulations. We do have several different kinds of penalties, like suspension from tendering, monetary penalty from the court, and also the prosecution from various departments, the environmental protection departments, labor department, etc. So all these are very important aspects when carry out construction work in Hong Kong. So the next question is, when you are asked, what is your top priority of this aspect? Is it time, cost, quality, safety, environment, or all of them? So it depends on who does you ask. If you ask a worker, so he may probably say time, because the shortest time he can finish his work, he can go home. If you ask the quality surveyor, he may say cost, because he need to control the budget to ensure the job completed within budget. So if you ask this question to a quality controls engineer, he will definitely say quality, because he is responsible to quality. So if you ask a safety manager, so he would say safety, because he doesn't need to attend the court in case the company is sued by the safety department. So if you were an environmental officer, so he will say, of course, environment. So different people will give you different answer. But all of them are correct, because they are answering this question in their own position and wearing their own hats. So what will happen? So you will see a tug of war between all these people. It can be a confrontation between a site foreman and the site workers. It can be the safety manager and the quantity surveyor. Look at one real example that happened in one of my sites before. So we do have a mobile crane unloading material to the construction site. And the safety officer found out the lifting chain has not been tested. So the operator is not allowed to unload the material already delivered at the front door of the site. But the general foreman say, the site needs those material to carry out the work for tomorrow. So what would he do in a situation like this? So if you are working in a construction site, I think you would share my view that this kind of incidents or this kind of things happen almost every day. So I can give you hundreds and hundreds of similar examples. So what happened then? I believe there is a common misconception of the site personnel that they all think site safety is the safety officer's responsibility. So even though the lifting chain has not been tested, so what? It's nothing to do with me. It's the safety officer's concern. So my own concern is get the job done and unload the material for the work I need to carry out. So I always fancy this symbol. This is a Tai Chi symbol. It's an ancient Chinese yin and yang philosophy. So it's a concept of dualism. It describes two forces seemingly opposite. But these contrary forces may actually be complementary. They are interconnected and interdependent. Instead of conflicting each other, it complements each other through collaboration to produce a greater result. So safety, how does it relate to site safety then? So what will happen if you think the site foreman to ensure the safety of work during the course of work, while the worker to ensure their own safety, for example, to put on their personal protective equipment properly. At the same time, the quantity surveyor to allow the cost for safety. But I always do fancy the contract do have pay for safety. And because of that, the contractor doesn't need to allow their own safety costs because, you know, this fixed amount has been allowed in the contract. So it's on a fair basis. The contractor have the sufficient money to carry out the safety measures, etc. And the quality control surveyor incorporates safety consideration when he is preparing the method statement. And also the safety personnel carefully execute the safety management plan, while the environmental officer to consider the safety issue, while fulfilling BEAM Plus requirement, as explained by Mr. Cheung this morning. So what do you think? If everyone has fulfilled their own responsibility in relation to site safety, this is like the previous slide about the yin and yang philosophy. Instead of confronting each other, people do complementary each other because they all work together in a same construction site, and each of them have their own duty and role to play in regarding site safety. So what are the common problems in a construction site? So I can highlight some of the following common problems: safety guidelines, instructions, communications, safety awareness and human behavior, safety resources, safety supervision, site conditions, safety design, safety culture. And I think Ada has said something about the safety culture, and he also highlighted the importance of safety culture in a construction site. And then I'm going to elaborate each one of them. In regarding safety guidelines and instructions, so I see the problem. There are so many information, safety guideline instruction on site every day. my thinking is too many instruction or too many information means no information. People tends to ignore all these overwhelming guidelines and safety instruction. If they think, you know, they have no time to read every single one of them. So what to do? I would suggest to identify some high-risk safety activities, such as confined space, deep excavation, dismantle of scaffolding, or tall crane erection. All these are high-risk site activities. So all these guidelines and instruction issued to the relevant party when this high-risk activity carry out. All these guidelines and instruction has to be clear and practicable. For example, if you ask the worker, the scaffolding worker, to put a safe line in a place, a suitable place, but when he went up to the rooftop, he can't find any column or any place to fix the anchor bolt. So how can he put the safety line? So the guideline and instruction has to be precise and practicable. And the next one is all these guidelines and instruction have to be well communicated. A lot of people just issue the guideline and think, okay, my job is done. The instruction or the guideline has been issued, that's it. So the most important is the one or the worker who carry out the work. Do they really understand the guideline? If they don't, who can they ask? Or do they have any chance to say any comment on this guideline? So it has to be well communicated. I do suggest two-way communication. Talk to the worker, tell them what to do, and ask them what they think. Because eventually it's the worker who carry out the work. And the next thing, the guideline has to be up to date. For example, we all know that when you enter a construction site, you need to wear a safety helmet. But in Hong Kong, in addition to wearing a safety helmet, your safety helmet need to have a helmet strap. So this is new. So when you give a safety helmet to a worker to wear it, the helmet must come with a strap. And sometimes the safety guideline and instruction, it can be site-specific. There may be some contractual requirement for each individual contract. For example, there may be a requirement, contractual requirement about the monthly safety audit, because in the local rules and regulation, we do have safety audit requirement by the Labor Department for a site over 100 workers or over $100 billion. So we need to conduct independent safety audit in every 6 months. But in some contract, they have a more stringent requirement. it requires the contractor to carry out safety audit every month. So you have to observe the contractual requirement in additional to the local rules and regulations. At the same time, the construction method would also affect the safety requirements. For example, we do have MIC, the Modular Integrated Construction in Hong Kong. So you can imagine the requirement. There are many lifting operations if we choose to adopt MIC as the construction method. So the safety personnel has to aware more safety guideline or instruction in relation to lifting operation is necessary. So the next aspect, communication. Lack of communication is one major and crucial problem. For example, if nobody tells the safety officer any work to be carried out next day, for example, there will be a dismantle of the scaffolding tomorrow. So we all know that dismantle scaffolding is a very high risk activity. So if the safety officer doesn't know the dismantling exercise will be carried out tomorrow, how can he plan? How can he supervise? So communication is very important. And using different kind of communication channels depends on how important the site activity is a high risk or just a general reminder. Sometimes you use a written instruction. Sometimes you hold a morning briefing. Or nowadays, we do have safety apps for mass distribution of safety information. No matter what communication channel that you use, so you need to establish a clear reporting channel or system. For example, if there is a safety incident spotted by a site foreman, should he report to the general foreman, to the site manager, or to the safety officer? So a clear safety organization chart has to be established when the commencement of work, so that the site personnel knows who should report it to when some accident or some safety situation arising. So the next point is, when we spot something or when we give out some important safety message to the worker, we need to follow up to ensure the worker follow the instruction. Maybe some situation, unaware situation happen. So some corrective action needs to be taken immediately. So it has to be followed up. And the next is the feedback channel. I always fancy two-way communication because this is the only way that you can improve. You have the feedback from the worker, from the end user, so they can tell you what problem with this in design whether during the course of work, any new situation arise which had never happened before. So we can always learn from people's experience. So providing feedback channel is always important. In some of my sites, we do have some feedback channel provided to the worker using the safety apps. The workers can propose or can report any safety issues, or in case they spot some danger in the working construction site, they can report to the safety officer to help the company to monitor the site safety. So the next problem is the safety awareness and human behavior. I find it, this is extremely difficult. It's always difficult to increase people awareness in safety and also to control the human behavior. So the best way to change that is to provide more safety training, as well as to promote safety culture within the company. Because all the workers, in their mind, their own mindset, they just care about complete work and get their pay and go back home. Other than that, they just don't care. So as a main contractor, it is our responsibility to tell them, to train them, and let them know the importance of safety. And we do have some mechanism like the penalty or incentive system in Hong Kong. We do have, a lot of different penalty system as a house rule. For example, if the subcontractor don't attend the safety meeting, they get a penalty. On the other hand, we do have incentive system. We do have a bonus or prize money to the best performing construction worker on site. So it's a carrot and stick system. And the other one is the experience of the site personnel is also very important. Can you imagine if a newly registered safety officer, when he reports duty on site, how do you compare another safety officer with more than 10 years site experience? The way they handle the safety issues, the way they handle the construction worker could be miles different. So what do you do if you don't employ the new safety officer? Of course not. My suggestion is to have one experienced safety officer to take care of a new one, to train them and let them to gain more experience so that they can work independently one day. And the other problem is sometimes we set the safety standard too high, which is not achievable. And people just think, oh, this is impossible, let's forget about it. So don't set any standard which is beyond your capability or ability. And always identify high-risk activities and provide adequate safety measures. In Hong Kong, the higher accident rate can be falling from height, the electricity shock, and of course in the past few years, heat stroke is also very popular. So we need to provide different kind of safety measure in regarding to safeguard the worker from all these hazards. So the next big problem is safety resources. So it can be a hardware as well as software. Hardware is, of course, it's the safety equipment, the PPE. The software is about the site personnel. The standard of the safety equipment is also important. Say, for example, the hand tool is not up to the electricity standard. So it may cause short circuit and eventually cause fire hazard. So it's only a small hand tool, but the outcome or the damage can be phenomenal. It happened to my site before. It's a fan. It's a short circuit because of the fan. The socket is not up to the Hong Kong standard. And then a fire happened. And luckily, the fire service department come just in time to put off the fire. Otherwise, it caused a lot quite substantial damage because of a simple small fan that the worker put in their workshop. And in terms of software, we need sufficient number of site personnel. I always insist, while handling a project, we need to estimate how many site personnel, the safety site personnel that we need in a particular construction site. Depends on the scale of the project, the complexity, the size of the project. The bigger, the more complex, you need to put more site personnel. Otherwise, you will encounter a lot of problems that you have never imagined. It happens every day, I guarantee. And the other consideration is to provide adequate workers for safety measures. My belief is, don't just rely on the subcontractors. We need to provide extra workers to carry out the safety precaution work, like the temporary safety barrier, because all the workers, when they find all these barrier obstruct their work, they just take it away. So we need extra workers to take care of all these temporary safety measures. And last, we need competent workers for the specific work. Like confined space, we need competent person to do the work. I always think one sentence, right people for the right job. If you assign the wrong people for the job, no matter how good he is, they wouldn't perform well. Like one incident happened in my site. A site foreman tried to clear a blocked refuse chute. So he ended up hurting himself because of the sudden falling of the debris inside the refuse chute. So right person for the right job is very important. So the safety supervision, you need to control the subcontractors and worker. Is who to control, who does the work, and how to control. And the safety personnel is their attitude towards safety is also very important. If they don't believe in site safety, how can they supervise the worker working safely? Do they know their duty, responsibility and the level of authority they have in relation to site safety, it has to be clearly defined. And the next one is how to supervise. Is it a routine inspection? Do they use some device like the alarm system or like the IT to help them to monitor the site safety? And the other consideration is the safety supervisor, his or her own safety performance. If they don't believe in safety, how can they supervise? The next one is people always overlook is the safety outside the site boundary. But I assure you, a lot of accidents happen outside the site boundary, like falling objects from height, like some slippery happen on a wet floor because of nobody care. The wet floor outside the construction site. The next one is site condition. Site tidiness can always eliminate accident on site. Hygiene health issues like COVID-19. I know really high COVID-19 cases happen in the site accommodation. I think it's in Singapore, happen in the construction site. So hygienic problem is also a big concern. The work environment, is it sufficient working space, lighting for the worker, plant and machinery? People always underestimate the danger caused by plant and machinery. Numerous accidents happen because of the moving plant and machinery, like an excavator. The operator didn't aware a worker working next to his machine. And electricity hazard, I have mentioned in the previous slide, always a problem. So safety design.
Sorry, Engineer Fung.
Yep.
We ran short of time.
Okay, I just give you maybe a few more minutes. I finish it. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. And safety design, temporary surface design. Before the project begins, you need to know where to put the temporary water pipe, how the electricity supply, and where to put it. So it's very important. And also during the planning stage for the course of work, so put safety in your consideration. And of course, adopt new safety technology, I have mentioned before, and that saves you time and money. And design for safety, in Hong Kong, we don't have legislation to control the design for safety. And it is a hot topic nowadays in Hong Kong. We want to discuss more about the design for safety, to assign the safety responsibility to the consultant or to the client. So safety culture. The solution is to provide safety education training, create safety team spirit, continue assessment and review, and most importantly, I think, is subcontractor commitment and top management commitment. And you can see this table. I call it a safety responsibility table. So we have several positions here: project manager, site foreman, project engineer, QS, safety officer, environmental officer, subcontractor, and workers. And we have all these aspects here listed out. And you can see both the project manager and the safety officer assume all the aspects in relation to safety. So they are the key person And when you look at the aspect, both communication and safety culture affect every one of the safety staff or workers. So all these are very important aspects to promote a safety culture and good communication. So what are the barriers to the effective implementation of site safety? Time, cost, negative attitude, lack of management commitment, unclear role and responsibility, inadequate training, and poor communication. So what are the tips? What are the action you need to take? Okay, for safety, adopt new technology. We do have virtual reality, mobile app, safety alert system. Adopt new construction method, MIC, BIM, DFMA. Make use of the available funding scheme by the local government in Hong Kong. We do have CRTF, and also the Hong Kong Construction Association do have construction safety fund. Okay, and of course, to promote safety culture, assign clear roles and role and responsibility, reinforce safety infrastructure, involve key stakeholders, and better communication. And to conclude what I have shared to you about, it is unnecessary to prioritize safety from other site aspects, but safety can be a built-in element in every site's activities, from planning and design to the execution of work, with everyone involvement, and most importantly, the top management commitment. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, sir, for your fruitful sharings.
Sorry for the overrunning.
It's okay, just slightly only. So if you like Mr. Conrad Fung's sharing, so would you like, can you just put a thumbs up or claps to our speakers? Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So it seems like a lot of them like your sharings, right? It's actually it's a very good sharings, you know, with a lot of field experience. I mean examples and as well as those knowledges. So we gain a lot from you. So well, without further ado, I would like to invite the last speaker of today.
Your camera has to come up again. You'll send the children first.
There was some disturbance just now. All right, so we would like to invite our last speaker of today, Mr. Harun Bin Bakar. He's the head of prevention of Social Security Organization of Malaysia. So he's going to share with us about Vision Zero initiative in community safety. So let's join me in welcoming Mr. Harun Bin Bakar to his presentations. Let's give a big applause to him. Mr. Harun, are you here? I think he's preparing. Mr. Harun?
Yes, I'm.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we saw the slide.
Okay. All right. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for your kind introduction. And thank you for everybody for being here from the morning until up until now. So this is my topic today, Vision Zero initiative, actually in community safety approach. It's what we are doing here in Malaysia in terms of committing safety to counter committing accidents and utilizing Vision Zero approach from ISA. Okay, from my presentation today, we'll go through several phases. I'll try to show you the gaps that exist where we are in terms of managing safety and health of our employees in the country. And I'll try to show some statistics, figures of the landscape of the health and safety in Malaysia, safety and health at work. And how we can use Vision Zero as a transformational approach in community safety, using the 7 golden rules, just like mentioned by our colleague from Hong Kong, Ms. Fung. The way forward, the strategy that we are doing in Malaysia, and within this short period of time, I'll try to conclude my presentation. So first of all, a little update on OKSO. So this is SOSO. SOSO is a social security organization. We are the one handling the compensation in Malaysia. As said, in 2019, we cover more than 400,000 employers. We are ensuring more than 7 million employees in the country. And starting from last year, we are also covering more than 1 million foreign workers in Malaysia. Every year we spend around 4 billion in compensation, and last year was around 1.5 billion in terms of industrial accidents, that means commuting accidents, and also occupational accidents. And we do spend more than 2.5 billion in terms of compensation for invalidity pension schemes. That means the people died or sick due to health, and then they are also covered by the compensation system in Malaysia. Overall, we have roughly almost 100,000 claims yearly come to SOSO, more than 70,000 for employment injury, and over 25,000 claims for invalidity. So you can see from the statistics, the payout actually, the compensation, more compensation on health issue compared to safety issue. So that means our focus as a occupational safety and health practitioner is not only to safety but also on health, because we need to do some sort of health promotion and so on in order for the workers to be healthy at the workplace. And in terms of compensation of employment injury, we cover industrial accidents, work-related accidents. We do cover commuting accidents, work-related road accidents. That means people are commuting from home to their workplace and vice versa. So if any accidents happening to them, we cover. And also under SOSO coverage is the occupational disease. That means any disease arising out or in the course of employment. So they are entitled to be covered by compensation under SOSO. So let's get back to the topic on commuting accidents. So under our coverage in Malaysia, so any accident happening to the workers when they are traveling en route between his place of residence or stay to his place of work, any accidents happening, they are covered. If any accidents happening on a journey made for any reason which is directly connected to his employment, they are covered. When they are sending the parcel, I mean for Post Malaysia, they are sending parcel, accident happening, they are covered under our scheme. And also under commuting accidents under section 24, if any accident happening to the workers when they are traveling from the place of work to the place where he takes his meal or within any authorized recess, they are also covered by the Social Security organization in Malaysia. So when these are the coverage in Malaysia, so you can see the accidents happening. So you can see from the statistics, there are accidents due to occupational accidents, accident at the workplace, and also accidents during commuting. So in this case, if you can see from the statistics, the trend of accidents, you can see the the number is slightly increasing for the last few years. The number of accidents in occupational accidents for the past 10 years is really high, going down, but now for the past 1 or 2 years, already increasing again. And for commuting accidents, you can see from the trend line. So this is the industrial accident, and the below one is the commuting accident. So their commuting accident trend is always increasing for the past 15 years. So this is the issue in Malaysia, and we as a social security body, so together with the partners, we need to do programs to at least cover this issue. And this is the trend of occupational disease. So you can see the occupational disease reported to also is increasing for the time being. And the overall, so for the 4.5 billion payout for last year, most of the payout, it goes to the fatal accidents or the dependents benefit. I mean, the people died due to occupational accidents, or the people died due to health before age of 60. And you can see from the statistics, if the accidents happening to the in terms of age group, occupational accidents happening to the people with higher, lower group, but commuting accidents happening to the younger, lower age group. And every accident change life. We all know this. Every time an accident happens, whether it at work or whether it happens on the road or at any other place, there will likely a victim or victims. And these victims, they may end up in having injuries, sometimes with impairment or disability. We know this firsthand because we receive more than 70,000 cases a year. And I'm sure more accidents outside there, most probably not in our radar. But one thing for certain, if accident happen, it may cause injuries. And of those are injured, some die as a result. Some recover fully, but some end up in permanent disability. And this injury changes life. And behind every person, there are other persons who are relying on them for their livelihood, the family. There are families, parents, children, and spouses whose life changes when someone is involved in an accident. And in Social Security, we see the effects of injury and death every single day. With every loss of a breadwinner in the family, we also lost a role model to the children. We have seen families disrupted and children who are neglected and parents who are broken-hearted. And then whenever we think about accidents, whether it's on the road or at the workplace, bear in mind that the injuries that result from the accident will affect the workers who are injured as well as their families. And in Malaysia, how do we tolerate these deaths and accidents in Malaysia? We can see here the cause of deaths in Malaysia as reported by Department of Statistics. Transport accidents, actually, the first major cause of deaths among Malaysians in 2017, most probably also in 2018 and 2019. And accident has been so much part of our society that it is ranked very high as a cause of death in our country. And transport accident is even more devastating. If we look closely at a ratio of who died with these accidents, transport accidents is the main cause of death among our younger generation. And you can see the people aged 0 and 14, when they are just children, this is the most vulnerable part. And this is a major problem in Malaysia, or most probably you can say that this quite normal, something is normal that we read every day in the newspaper or on online news. And unfortunately, in Malaysia, we also have the third highest death rate caused by road accidents in Asia. And not only in Asia, in terms of the most riskiest road, we are the third in the world. When you look at the world riskiest roads, deaths by accidents is very common indeed in our country. And what about death due to occupational accidents? Of course, we can say that this number is much lower, 222, but 222 is still a number, still a worker of there. And this is the following incidents of industrial accidents reported to so for the past 10 years. You may see that we have the trend line of the accidents quite stagnant. That means the number is almost the same for the past 10 years. So can we still accept that we still should have that almost 40,000 industrial accidents every year due to in Malaysia? So that's the question. And this, if you divide by the number of days, you can say at least 100 workers, the accident happened to the workers due to industrial accidents every day in Malaysia. In contrast, in commuting accidents, deaths from commuting accidents double the deaths of the industrial accident. You can see for the past few years, in 2018, the number of deaths for industrial accidents is 222. The number of deaths from the commuting accidents or work-related road accident around 666. When we go to work, actually the norm is that we should safely arrive at our workplace, perform our duty, finish our work, and then go home safely. That should be the norm. But if you look at these figures, you can say that every day, there will be at least 3 workers who could not make home every day. They could possibly die at the workplace or on the road on the way to home. And from the financial impacts of employment injury, the payout is roughly around 1.5 billion from SOSO. And if we total, roughly we less than 5 billion compensation every year. This is, now is the year 2020. We have the OSH Master Plan from 2016 to 2020, where we are supposed to have at least a culture of prevention after 15 years of the OSH-MP. But a culture of prevention is really difficult when you can see that the number of occupational accidents and deaths is still high. The number of commuting accidents is still high. The number of road transports, injury and accidents also very high. So ladies and gentlemen, a prevention culture could not be achieved if we still accept that accidents are something normal that happen in our life. So what do you think an acceptable death rate for next year will be? So before I answer that, so what is the best form of social security? We have agreed that the incidents of employment injury and death must be reduced, and where, just like we have shown before, I have shown before, the number of occupational deaths is around 222. So the question, what is the acceptable death rate for next year will be? So that is the question. So before that, but in terms of, so what is the best form of social security that we should provide to the worker or to the nation? Is it the highest compensation, extensive coverage where we cover everything, or lowest premium, or free? So that's the, so what is the best form of security of a person to be continued as a productive member in the society and able to continue to sustain himself or herself in the world? And to answer this, next come the agenda for today. That is the Vision Zero. We have spoken about Vision Zero since before 2014, and Vision Zero has been launched officially in the world in Singapore in 2017, and many countries have taken this and implemented their own Vision Zero programs and also initiative. But what is Vision Zero is all about? Is it the vision to have a zero accidents, or what is this actually? So actually the Vision Zero is the vision to reduce the accident, just like mentioned by Ms. Fung. All accidents not acceptable. We should prevent. Anything that can be prevented should not be accepted as a norm. So this slide, what do you think is an acceptable death rate for next year, or for your company? What is the acceptable death rate for our company? So I'll try to share you the slide.
In 2016, 291 people died on our roads. What do you think would be a more acceptable number?
Acceptable? 70 maybe? Probably 70.
You said 70? Actually, this is what 70 people looks like. So now, what do you think would be a more acceptable number?
0.
So there is only one answer. That is, the answer is 0. So we cannot accept, let's say for Malaysia, we have 222 fatalities due to occupational accidents in 2018. If we accept a reduction in 50%, that means we will accept there will be 111 workers died due to occupational accidents the next year. And that could mean everybody. It could be our friend, could be our family. So that's why we could not accept that, because if it is my family also, I could not accept that will be the statistic. So the answer is 0. That's why we need to go to Vision Zero. And I think you can always look into the online from the internet regarding the Vision Zero. What just like mentioned by Ms. Fung, this is the 7 golden rules of Vision Zero, from the leadership up to the investment in people. And what I would like to share is the strategy that we have done in Malaysia in terms of Vision Zero. We started with the promotion and awareness. So there will be three main compartments. Will be on promotion and awareness, increasing the visibility of Vision Zero among the practitioners, improving literacy and resources, and also field implementation, I mean hands-on module and so on. And this is the focus for promotion and awareness. The Vision Zero seminar and conferences, the initiative, the co-branding of the initiative, just like, so this is the kind of thing that we do for Vision Zero seminar and so on. And try to co-branding in PESO implementation initiative, in public transport, banners, advocacy program. We have bus with Vision Zero symbol, a logo, and we have the mainstream media and also alternative platform in terms of promotion of Vision Zero. And also this is the promotion done during the MotoGP on commuting safety. So 300,000 went for motor racing. They want to see a very fast motorcycle, but we opened the booth asking people to ride motorcycle safely and very cautious in terms of riding. So that's what we have done. And in terms of improving literacy and resources, we have translated the guidelines of Vision Zero into the Malay language. So this is also already incorporated in the Vision Zero Vision Zero Global online. So you can see, you can get this guideline from the website. And we try to simplify the Vision Zero guidelines into something practical that can be implemented by the IKS, small scale industry. So hopefully by because due to this COVID-19 was currently halted, but hopefully by next month we can complete this project. And in terms of field implementation, so this is the one that I would like to share, the commuting safety support program, the one that we have done where we have incorporated the 7 elements of Vision Zero into the program that has shown the really a good result. So the CSS, we call it CSSP, the Commuting Safety Support Program. So we try to embed these 7 Vision Zero elements from the leadership, define target, identify hazards, and so on, until the investment in people. And so what we do, we engage the companies with the highest number of commuting accidents in Malaysia. We go to the company, we train the company with the skill, sort of like train the trainer program. From the baseline of the, from the statistic of the accidents, we can see what's the profile of the company in terms of commuting accidents, and we try to tackle the company by using their own profile. So from that, we do the intervention, engagement with the workers, awareness, and hands-on approach in terms of intervention, and after that, we will do the evaluation part. And within this program, among the program that has been done, so like measuring the road safety performance baseline data, and this is based on the ISO 39002, the good practices in implementing commuting safety management system. And this is where we take the independent variable, the program conductor, the training, the commuting route being met, the inspected vehicles, and so on. Then compared to the dependent variable, the accidents and also the injury related, the riding behavior. So this will be measured. Then there will be the trainer, the route hazard mapping training, the engagement program with the safety committee, and also with the workers who's riding motorbike. And we develop the program based on the root cause. We know from the factor of human, vehicle, and road and environment. So from that company profile, we develop the program based on the profile, and then try to do the program based on the module that is suitable to that company. and this is the among the train within the train program. Try to integrate the in module 1, integrate the road safety elements into the existing OSH policy. We train the committee to do the development of road hazard mapping to their staff. So every staff should have their own mapping in terms of road hazard. And also the family safety reminder card. So just a simple reminder card for every employee to advise him to ride the vehicle safely. And also in module 4 is motorcycle daily inspection. In number 4, continuous and focus-based intervention program. So this is among the program. This is part of the ensure safety and health in machines under 7 Vision 0 golden rules. So among the activity, the motorcycle daily inspection, defensive riding training, community safety talks and survey, and fitness to ride. So this is among the program to do in terms of improving their competency. We also do the defensive riding demonstration. So the focus is on braking and also cornering. So this is part of ensure safe and healthy system. And from we have completed in 2018, we have completed 115 workplaces. In 2019, we have another 70 workplaces, but now it's in final evaluation part of the 2019 result. And overall, we have trained more than 1,000 trainers in terms of community safety support program. We have more than 10,000 trained motorcyclists at their workplace. And also we did the evaluation. So coming back to our topic, the community safety, the Vision 0 and the community safety approach. The question is in Malaysia, whether we can do, whether Vision 0 could be implemented or not. So in Victoria State, Australia, for the last, this is an example that we can share. In Australia, for the last 30 years, 30 years ago, driving and alcohol were considered part of masculinity. They do have road crashes, quite common, and then they implemented campaigns against driving under alcohol and influence. Now, they have changed the mindset of people. And in Melbourne, deaths due to road crashes are no longer acceptable. In Australia as a whole, drunk driving is a serious offense. Speed limits are set to prevent serious injuries. The vision for deaths from road crashes is 0. That is in Victoria State, Australia. In our country, in Malaysia, 30 years ago, maternal delivery was considered a life and death situation. You ask your parent or anyone who is old enough, it was if the mother died when delivering, it was considered as fate or just part of life. But now in Malaysia, there is no longer the case, because every case will be treated seriously. Every maternal death is investigated and root cause identified. So the vision for deaths from maternal delivery is 0. So if we can do it in maternal delivery, why can we do it also in other sector, other form of issue? So as a conclusion, So what is the best form of social security? So the best form is social security. The best form of social security is actually to stay safe, to stay healthy. That is the Vision Zero. So I think that is all my share today. CK, thank you very much. I'll pass to you.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for your sharing and with us on the community accidents statistic and also as well as the strategies on overcoming the community accidents. So I would like to pick up one of the questions raised by Matthias Kropp. He was asking, what is the reason for increase of occupational accident during the last years? Is it because of the improved reporting cases? Mean that due to the cultural changes, accident get more reported as in the past?
All right. So, Mr. Anuar Embi is still with us or not?
Yes, left.
Left already? Okay.
Yes.
So, in terms of occupational accidents, we can see the number of accidents is quite stagnant for the past few years actually. It is slightly increasing, but in terms of our coverage for the past few years, I mean for last year, we have started to also cover foreign workers. So that means the last time it was not under our statistic, but now it is also into the statistic. And also the other one is the increase of the coverage. I think like in terms of occupational disease. So last time it was only around 88 types of occupational diseases covered by the system, but now it's more than 100. So when the coverage is larger, the number of reported accidents also, I mean, with larger pool, there will always the tendency to have a larger number of notification of accidents too. So.
All right. Thank you. One more last questions. Pick up Brian Ng. So he asked about, may I know what is the contributing factors for the increase of numbers of committing accident?
What
is the contributing factors?
Oh, okay. All right. So from our studies in Malaysia, most of these accidents happening more to the behavior based on the behavior. A lot of accidents due to the speeding. I mean the major one is due to the speeding, and to the younger one, to the younger generation. That means people who are young, they tend to speed, and if speeding, it will cause accidents. That's why based on the statistic, this is the top one. That is, I think, that is the main one based on due to speeding. The rest, I think, it has to be in our view. The enforcement, if we have a better enforcement in terms of road speeding, we could have a better result in reducing the number of road accidents in Malaysia.
Hassan Momong would like to know, how about using handphone while driving?
Yes.
Does it contribute?
Number three.
Yeah.
Last time when the research was done in 2016, was due to people using handphone to SMS. Now due to WhatsApp also. So it is the third major contributing to the accident among social contributors. mean, in terms of
I think basically you have answered all the questions, and also you have presented a very good presentation. So we'd like to thank you once again to you. Right, you may stop sharing your slide. So we are about coming towards the end of this webinar. So please stay with us for another 10 to 15 minutes for us to complete. And before that, I would like to hand over this session, the closing remark, to Dato Kanagaraja Raman for the closing remark. So Dato, you are welcome.
How can you hear me? Okay. Okay, good day to everyone. Once again, we are in the Zoom meeting where every month we used to have remarkable speakers, and then we are just right from their mouth, we can hear all the recent or up-to-date safety remarks. So likewise, today we had the wonderful speakers. We had about 5 speakers giving their views, and it's not easy to get them to come and give a presentation where everyone can sit at your own place and listen and gain all the best knowledges from the best professionals. Of course, what like CM Ho has said, invest on people. That is a good motto, and it's a good saying that everything is on investing on people. I think we will learn more things, we will reduce accidents, we can better ourselves. All right, like the first speaker, of course, Mr. Cheung Hau, I think he talked on the green building in Hong Kong bill. So green buildings, I think this is something like which has come on to the latest edition in Hong Kong, like already a developed country. Similar to our Malaysia, we have the upcoming, whatever the new buildings coming up, we work on the GBI. That's a green building index we have. I wanted to ask him a question, what is measurement? How do you measure this green environment things at the buildings? Like in Malaysia, I think when we're doing projects in Putrajaya and all that, we have got an index where we have got some point forms which they can accumulate, or if they can reach up to the standard of the points, then they are given the so-called certificate. They adhere to the GBI. Like Hong Kong is a busy street. Like in Malaysia, we also encourage the buildings where not much of vehicles to be driven around, which emulsions of carbon monoxide and the smokes and all that. So instead of that, now we are developing into all the monorails and all that. If your project site where not much vehicle comes and monorail goes there, you get certain points. You can accumulate on the certain points to achieve your GBI, Green Building Index. So I think it was a very interesting topic. I think we would like to hear more. Probably if we have more programs in Malaysia, we might invite him to come and give a wider scope of things on GBI, green buildings. Thank you very much, Mr. Cheung, for your all the informations and everything which you have given us today. Okay. Like otherwise also, when you have said that public education program where we all go on the environmental attire. So I think in Malaysia we have I've not seen anybody doing this. We have a World Safety Day, we have a World Safety Week and all that, but on environment where I think we can pick up a place like Putrajaya and we go on green things, we all wear the green shirts and then we go forward these green things. That's one program I think we are looking into it also. All right, next was of course our, is a person who is so difficult to get but is so busy, is our Deputy Director General of DOSH, that is Yang Bahagia Anuar. And then he was giving on the new legislations enforcement, responsibilities of the owners, responsibilities of the contractors and all that. So there were a lot of questions was asked when on the machinery things and all that, who take the responsibility? Is it on the DOSH side or on the contractor side? So he has given a very good explanation how it works. So it is a responsibility of everybody, but we cannot blame the machinery if the authority wants to find them if on the defect purpose, it has to be heaven standard. So he has said very clearly that during the installation of the machinery, let's say tower crane, if it is installed, that's the time where DOSH go and do the machinery inspection. So they give all the green light or they ask to rectify whatever defects. So, but after that is the contractor's responsibility. They have to maintain. So it only happens when tower crane topples. So the authority comes and then check and see. But they have done their part. We cannot blame the DOSH for whatever inspection they have done and approved. But after that is a contractor, whoever owns the machinery, his responsibility to take care of the machinery. Okay, thank you very much again to Anuar. And then thirdly, we have gone on to the Madam Fung on the building information and modeling. That's called another, like we have said, this is BIM. Earlier it was Green Building Index. This is BIM. How does how to control and ensure to have the effectiveness. So I think it was a good topic again, and she was so professional. She has everything in the tip of her finger. So she, knowing professionalism, she has given within the short period what are the real necessary things to be looked after. Thank you again, madam. And then after that was the fourth speaker, was a Conrad Fung. I think to say the safety guides on the establish of acceptable and safety standards. Again, he spoke to us well, and because he is so professional on this topic that he has given us, and a lot of, I think, Malaysian would have shared his vision. Okay, then finally we have come to our last speaker, Harun Bakar. Actually, Harun Bakar, the head of the Prevention, Medical and Rehabilitation Division of Perkeso. Perkeso is a SOSCO in Malaysia. So he is a person who has got a vision, zero on safety and well-being, showing all the compensations. So those who attended today's Zoom meeting, you all would have seen how much compensation has been given. It's not the money. So the importance of how to reduce. He was telling that how we can reduce from 666 fatalities on last year, and how to reduce it at least to 1/3. To come to about 100 over fatalities means it's a responsibility of the workers who start to work from the house to go. Most of the accidents happening because these are reported to Perkeso, SOSCO. There is a commuting accidents where they start from the house and to go to the site, these are the accidents happen. So if they can really look into reducing in the sense that I think I was just, it's all the vision. It's all the vision we have, not the COVID. We were quite, during the COVID times, we realized that about 3 or 4 months, there was very, very less road accidents because we don't want to have another COVID to help us to reduce the accidents. But we have to have the vision. If that thing can be obtained, that means when we drive, when we on the road, it's the responsibility of the road user. So if we can be very, very careful, then we can reduce. And I was really shocked to hear that we are Malaysia standing as the 3rd highest commuting accidents in the world. Although we are at this small community, we have only got about 32.6 million people here. But then rating with the others, we are in the 3rd placing. So I think we have to start to do something to reduce all these accidents. So, gentlemen, ladies, I think today is one day where we have taken our time to listen to all the professional speakers, good speakers, and thank you very much for CM Ho for letting all of us to come together, although we are supposed to meet up in the WAPOSHP conference, supposed to be in August. That would have given us all the nice to meet up and physically to see everybody. But although we are missing that, but I don't see we are missing seeing each other every month. So, well, again, we are going to have this WAPOSHP conference next year in Japan. Until then, we can meet up in Japan. We can have few more programs. I think next month also we are going to have another Zoom meeting like that, which one set of professionals to give us a talk. Thank you very much for all the participants, and thank you again, SRDI, Mr. CM Ho, KK from the SHEA Academy, and CK Lim, of course, with all the other speakers. And I thank again all the audience for being so patient and listening to us. Thank you very much. To you.
Thank you, Dato, for the closing remarks. So thanks everyone. So please do not stay with us. Do not leave us yet. So I would like to make a short announcement on our upcoming webinar, which will be held on the 1st of August next month. So the time will be about the same, 9:30 to 1:15 p.m. So we are running over the time today, but it's okay. So we have invited a few speakers. So tentatively we will invite WAPOSHP Malaysia, the state director. Then at the same time also we will be inviting IR Professional Vincent Ho, who is the immediate past president of IOSH. Mr. Matthias Kropp, he's with us today. So he's a professional QHSE management consultant of Yongwoo Industry Corporations Korea. So IR Dr. Cheung Hau-wai, professional and fire engineer, former senior fire services divisional officer of Hong Kong. And lastly is Dr. Muhammad Arif Muhammad Nordin. He's a OHD, occupational health doctor of NIOSH, National Institute Occupational Safety and Health, Malaysia. So would you mind to take up your phone and scan on the QR code to register for the next sessions? We would like to see you once again in the next sessions. So I give you around 30 seconds to scan it. So we appreciate for those who attended today throughout the whole session and would like to invite you to the next sessions. So we hope to see you again in the next sessions on 1st of August 2020.
Team, I would like to request later after you cancel your screen, and then everyone give a motivate thumbs up for our speaker and organizer, then we can make a print screen we share at the Facebook page.
Sure, sure. All right. Everybody done? Everybody done? So if it's done, I proceed to the next slide. So you may contact us. So please like our Facebook as well. If you think our webinar is beneficial to you, please click the like button and also follow us. As well as if you like our webinar, please click the button of share. So share to others, friends, colleagues, and also whoever who might be interested in our webinar. So in the coming webinar, we'd like to see more participants in participating in our webinar. So if you have any questions you'd like to raise, please do not hesitate to drop us an email. And the email is, you can see on the screen, office@srdi.hongkong, or you may call SRDI office, or you may contact our person in charge in Malaysia, SHE Academy, myself, or Mr. KK. So we will drop our email to you. So if you have anything, you can send us an email and contact us. So we shall come back to you as soon as possible. Next, just information. So we do get approval from CIDB. So 5 CCD point, contractor continuous development. So we have officially approved by CIDB. And then also at the same time, basically unofficially, WAPOSHP has agreed to provide us the 8 CCD point for those who have attended 2 sessions, 2 webinar sessions then you are entitled for 8 CEP points, right? So last is on the CPD point, continuing professional development. So whoever who have completed the whole session, stay with us throughout the whole sessions, you are awarded with 3.5 hours of CPD point. All right. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for spending your valuable time with us, and hopefully you found it to be valuable, and will be able to leverage the information provided to help you to gaining insight as well as growing your business and also in your careers. So before we close, can we request everybody to switch on their camera? So we like to see your cheerful face. And at the same time, can you all please help me to click the button of reaction of like, and let's give a big round of applause.
Just use your finger, thumbs up. We can see.
All right, so we will publish it in our Facebook. So hopefully in the coming sessions, we'll see you once again. We truly appreciate for your support. Please let us know if you have any questions, any feedback, please drop a comment to our Facebook. We will see you again in next one. All right.